what we feel, we create. And that we do not attract what we want, we attract what we are. And in order to change what we are, to attract what we want, we have to feel good.
Hello to all of my curious and open-minded citizen scientists. Today we have a very special treat on the podcast. She has over 500,000 incredible community members. She is an intuitive dream interpreter and spiritual life coach. And she is going to help us dive deep into the spiritual plane today, beyond the non-physical, perhaps into a dreamlike state. She is a true TikTok all-star. So with that, welcome Sanela Estrella. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited.
We are excited as well. For those of you that are watching that haven't heard of your content, you are one of the first creators that I actually was following back in the pandemic. And so a lot of what you did kind of inspired me to start my TikTok. So thank you for helping me.
Oh my gosh, I love to hear that. I am actually, that makes me so happy because I love your content. And I think that the message that you're spreading is so important, and just bringing awareness to, health and the quality of our soil and supplements and energy. And I just love everything that you say. It just all resonates. So that makes me really happy. I did not know that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for those watching, at the end, we're going to talk about, kind of Sanela's journey in TikTok. So maybe that can help you guys out if you guys are looking to start your TikTok journey. So with that said, I want to start off by reading a passage of a book. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of the Tibetan Yogas and Dream and Sleep by chance? Okay, so this is a book about dreams, and the ancient Tibetan yogas, they believe that like your dream life is connected to your real life, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But I want to read this chapter from it because I think it's a great way to start.
Okay.
So we spend a third of our life sleeping. All of us dream whether we remember dreaming or not. We dream as infants and continue dreaming until we die. And every night we enter an unknown world. No matter what we do, however virtuous or non-virtuous, whether we're murderers or monks, every day ends the same for every person. We shut our eyes and dissolve into darkness. We do so fearlessly, even as everything we know as me disappears. After a brief period, images arise and our sense of self arises with them. We exist again in the apparently limitless world of dream. Every night we participate in these most profound mysteries, moving from one dimension of experience to another, losing our sense of self and finding it again, and yet we take it all for granted. We wake up in the morning and continue our real life, but in a sense we are still asleep and dreaming. So with that taken from the books, can you tell us a little bit about intuitive dream interpreter and kind of what all of that means to you?
Right. Oh, wow. I just love the way that they worded that, because dreams are exactly that. And I think that it's just like it said in the book, taken for granted. And I think that it's like overly normalized because we are living a completely different, separate life in when we go to sleep. And I just think that that's amazing and crazy. And it's so meaningful. But what I do as an intuitive dream interpreter, wouldn't say that I made up that title. It's just something that like resonated with me, just because I don't think of myself as a dream interpreter where I kind of like psychoanalyze everything like a psychologist would. Of course, there are symbols that, kind of represent certain things, but the way that I do it, to me, it's like a psychic gift. It's just like kind of like hearing, seeing, reading, and then kind of knowing, and just like extracting that message from there without having to Google like, oh, I saw a black cat in my dream. What does this mean? Like, and what does this mean? And then trying to piece it together. Sometimes, you kind of get stumped on a little symbol and just like reading about what that symbolizes, like using Chinese symbolism, or just, just something to kind of trigger that message to come through. And that is the way that I do it. I don't, study all of these from other dream interpreters. And though that might be helpful for some people, I would rather just look at it as a whole and try to kind of take a metaphor out of it, because the universe gives us everything in kind of like a metaphorical sense. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish they could just be so literal, but we do have a tendency to overthink things. And I just kind of look at it as like, those like folk tales that you used to read with like the talking animals when we were little. I really try to just simplify it into a little story like that, and then to see what the lesson is from that dream. And to me, that's what being an intuitive dream interpreter is.
I like that. When did you first like find a passion for this, or like feel like you had like a skill in that?
So I have always been very, very connected in the dream realm since I was little. My mom would always tell me, that it was just these wild, wild dreams for such a young child to be having. And it really started when I was about 10 years old. I started having this recurring nightmare every night for like a year, I want to say, that I was being chased and I was just running and running and running and running and running. And this is kind of where I discovered that you can become lucid in a dream, which I had no idea even the term for it at the time. But this was when things kind of really shifted for me. And I was like, okay, this is another plane of reality. It's not just something that I'm imagining, there's something behind this. And as I get older, my mom is really into dreams too. And just growing up with her, we would tell each other our dreams in the morning, and, we would kind of just go back and forth and kind of decipher what each other's dreams mean. And this went on for probably 4 or 5 years. And then I was like, I think I can do this for other people. Like, I got the confidence to actually like do it professionally and offer it to other people. And, sometimes I still get that kind of like imposter syndrome, like, have I been doing this long enough to be like doing it for other people? But I do trust myself now, and I'm learning to have faith in my abilities and gifts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I, over the last 6 months, have started a dream journal. Do you have a dream journal? Do you recommend dream journals? What is your thought on a dream journal?
So I think that a dream journal is a great idea. You don't even have to have like an actual journal, just because it's really important that you get this out of your head and into writing as soon as possible. So even just writing it in your notes app on your phone is so helpful. I used to write it in a journal, but I found that sometimes by the time I get up and walk over and get a pen and a journal, that I kind of forget some of the details. But I'm kind of at the point where I don't always have to write them down anymore. I can kind of just like sit in the morning and think about them. If it's something that has like a really, really deep, like just like brooding message, I'll write it down so I can come back to it like a year later and just kind of revisit that. But I have some that I haven't written down that I'll remember for years to come, because it was just like so important. And the more awareness that you put towards remembering and just saying that to your subconscious mind and your waking mind, that this is something important and this is something that I should be remembering, it will get easier, and eventually you won't need the journal. But I think it's such a great thing to have the journal, just to like be able to go back and look through it and be like, wow, that was crazy, like I totally forgot that happened, like that's so amazing. So yes, I think everyone should have a dream journal.
I agree. I have a little mini one right here, and I literally keep it right next to me when I wake up, because you're right. If you don't write it down immediately, you'll forget. I have like multiple dreams throughout one night. Is that normal? Do
Mhm.
you hear that a lot?
Yes. So most of the dream interpretations that I do, it'll start with like a little like clip of something, and then they say that they jumped to a new dream, but it's still somewhat related. And they do end up tying together. Um, we also go through different stages of sleep throughout the night. So this can also explain why you're having multiple dreams. So when you're in the dream, you're in REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, for those who don't know. But you also have deep sleep, and then you have light sleep. So as you shift through those 3 cycles in the night, that could be the explanation for why you're having multiple different dreams.
That makes sense. I like that. So I'm going to ask you a question. So I have only really had one reoccurring dream that I can think of throughout my life. It happens once every like 6 months, but it has happened for a long time. I always have a dream that I am worried about a tooth breaking or
Mm,
falling out of my head or being loose. Have you heard of this before? What does this mean?
yes. So actually, I've had this dream before many times in different forms. This is a really, really, really common dream. And it really depends on like the context and a little bit more details, like is it a loose tooth, or all your teeth falling out, like where are you when your teeth are falling out? But it really just comes down to some kind of anxiety that you're having about your life. And it really, the context of it, I always tell people this, in the context of it matters. It matters, like your environment, how do you feel about it, like all of those things matter in the sense of what I'm doing. Like for example, like if you have a spider in your dream, most people are scared of spiders, but what if you're not scared of spiders? That's going to be something completely different. But the teeth falling out is an anxiety about some kind of responsibility or something that you're just afraid of subconsciously.
That makes sense, because I'm very anxious a lot of the time.
Me
Um,
too.
Yeah. So I recommend getting a dream journal for anybody there who's interested, because you realize as you are recalling it and writing it down, you're writing it down and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that even happened. But because I'm trying to recall it, I totally forgot that that event happened. And then you start to see kind of like a breadcrumb trail of consistency in these dreams. And it kind of puts
Mhm.
like a story together. It's very interesting. And like the book said, you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping and dreaming. So it might be worth something to consider, worth your time, if you spend that much time doing that thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're gonna move on to some of the things that I see that you talk about, that I talk about, and that I really love a lot. You talk a lot about raising the vibrations of the individual to like evolve, and I'm obsessed with this, and I believe it to my core. In fact, the more we learn about quantum physics, the more you see that all of our tiniest building blocks, all the way down to quarks, what they're doing is quite literally vibrating. And I think people can resonate this when they say, this guy gave me good vibes, this gal gave me good vibes, or they gave me bad vibes. That's short for vibration. I think we need to start looking at ourselves in terms of vibration and frequency and energy. But just what do you mean when you say, the vibrations, we need to raise our vibrations, and just elaborate a little bit on that.
So for someone who's never heard of what it means to kind of raise your vibration. So something I learned within the last couple of years is that our atoms, every atom in matter in our being, it's like 99% energy. Like it's just negative space besides for the nucleus. So that means that we are made of energy. So if we can change the energy in our atoms, we can change the energy in our entire being and how that manifests in the way that we feel, in the way that we look, in our health. All of those things come into play. And that just changes everything, that we're not actually physical beings. Like we can see, like I can see my hand, it's a physical hand, I can touch it, I can feel it. But knowing that the atoms that make up this hand are made of energy, it just kind of shifts everything. And vibrationally speaking, like about, you know, if you get like good vibes or someone, it just means that you are resonating with another person's frequency, that it's alike and that it matches. So when you kind of really learn how to tune into this and listen to what your body is telling you, because your body is a physical manifestation of that energy. So when you can learn to kind of feel those vibrations and feel that energy and get those cues from your body of how you feel in that situation vibrationally, you'll be able to see kind of what is in alignment with your vibration versus what is not. And when I meet someone, I immediately when I walk into a room, I can just tell, like, this is a good person. Well, I don't want to label it as good or bad, but, you know, like I get really good vibes from this person, or I get really bad vibes, especially if someone like touches me. I'm like, oh no, like that is not in alignment with my vibration. Or like if someone touches me and I'm like, oh my God, I can just feel your energy. Like it's just, it's a resonance. And when you're within 30 feet of someone, your energies and your vibrations actually start working together. And that's why when you walk into a room, you can feel that vibe, I guess, the good vibe or the bad vibe. So like attracts like, we all know that. So when you feel a good vibe, that's someone that is matching your frequency, or that they have an attractive frequency, maybe it's even higher than yours. And when we're getting a bad vibe, it's something that is not resonating and not matching with our frequency.
I completely agree. And I like how you said that. And I think as we get more advanced technology, the more we're really kind of being able to like actually study this phenomena. We're actually able to feel and measure a frequency outside of the body. We're even seeing it in brain scans, where if you're in the same room as people, your brains are more like them than any other person in the world, even if you have a brother or a sister who's biologically like you. We've been doing it with Zoom calls like this because of the pandemic. They put brain scanners on people's heads that are on Zoom calls, and their brains are more alike just because they're in tune with each other. So a part of my message and what your message is that I see all the time is we need to really stop thinking of physical things and spend more time thinking of things that are invisible to the human eye, like vibration, frequency, energy, because there is a form of communication that we are all sharing with each other that is beyond our level of conscious awareness in what we refer to as good vibes. And just like you mentioned, you can tell so many times when a friend or family member or coworker walks in the door, they don't say anything or anything, and you can just tell that they're in a bad mood because of the vibrational frequency that they're giving up that you can feel, but you don't have the words to describe what you're feeling. Same thing with dogs and animals. They can feel good and bad vibes between people. So I really love that you brought that up, because the more that you really spend thinking about that and diving into that, you kind of realize, whoa, there is a subconscious communication that's beyond my five senses that I'm told that I have.
Absolutely. Like you think about babies. I always bring it back to this, like when someone is asking me like, oh, how do I become more intuitive, or how do I raise my vibration, or, you know, like, how do I be more in tune with what is going on around me? And everyone is born with it. Like a baby doesn't know how to talk. It can't really even form thoughts yet, but we have feelings when we're born. Those are our most intuitive abilities that we have, that we're born with. And, you know, in this society, we're kind of taught to think with logic. So as soon as logic takes over, intuition kind of takes the back seat. But feelings are intuition, and our bodies are constantly giving us cues of what is going on around us vibrationally. And the more that you learn how to pick up on those cues, you just realize that you don't have to do anything. And intuition isn't some superpower. It's something that is so innate that we're born with. And, it's just so easy, but we just have to come back to ourselves within our being and into our own energy and just be aware of it.
I absolutely agree. It's the gut feeling, right? The butterflies in your stomach, the just doesn't feel right moments, right? I totally believe that we should be leaning into that. And I want to read a quote to you and just kind of just based on what you hear it, I don't know if you've heard it before, what you think about it, but this is how I think of like raising your vibration, and it's through manifestation. And it's the idea that manifestation is not bringing something to you that you don't already have. It's making visible what's already there by matching its frequency. You have everything you need. You just don't know it yet because you can't see it because you aren't the wavelength of it yet. What do you think about that?
I agree. For someone who might not be able to grasp that, I want to put it in a little bit of simpler terms, is that what we feel, we create, and that we do not attract what we want, we attract what we are. And in order to change what we are, to attract what we want, we have to feel good. That's it. Like, you will bring everything in based on how you feel. And, like I hear a lot of people say, your thoughts create your reality, but your thoughts don't create your reality. Your feelings create your reality. And I always bring it back to feelings because, your thoughts do have an effect, but your feelings are based off of like your core belief systems, and those are super, super, super ingrained in your subconscious. But that doesn't mean that you can't change them. But when he says we are not able to see it yet, I think he's just saying, like, you can't even imagine something without it already existing within the quantum field. You can't even imagine it. So just by imagining it, it means it already exists, even though you can't physically see it. It's out there, and you just have to vibrationally align yourself with it. And I think that that's like the hardest part. But really, I think that our only job is to feel good, and everything that we want will come in that way, because the universe already knows what we want. But the only thing that we should actually be trying to like manifest, I guess, is being happy. Because when you're happy, your vibe is high, you're in alignment, and all of the things just literally come knocking at your door.
I agree. And I think happiness is different for everybody, right? I think some people can be happy making $40,000 a year and being a Twitch streamer playing video games. And then someone else can be happy grinding 60 hours a week as a lawyer because they love law. So I think happiness is completely different, and you have to find your version of happy. I know
Absolutely.
my version of happy is doing things like this, is communicating with others and sharing thoughts and ideas with others. That's something that makes me really happy. And I think another thing that shouldn't go untalked about is it takes a lot of work, at least for me, daily work, to consciously try and put myself in good vibes and consciously think about what I want to attract. It is a form of work. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. It's so easy, especially in our day and age of social media and, living in a capitalistic society. I think it's so easy to kind of succumb to having those negative thoughts. And I was thinking about this the other day. I think that the type of media that we consume has a huge, huge, huge part in our vibration. I really try to only listen to music with, either no words or Hertz music or, really positive affirmation music. And when I'm watching TV, I try to watch something that's educational. I love Gaia, learning about stuff on there. But I was recently watching Euphoria, which if you haven't watched it, it's so toxic. It's really, really toxic TV. And I could feel it kind of like after I would finish an episode, I'm like, oh, I felt so good earlier. Now I feel like ick. Like this isn't happening to me. I'm just witnessing it. And it's kind of like sucking the high vibes out of me. So I think it's really hard, and it is a lot of work to consciously choose with intent like what you're going to be doing each day, and like just having that awareness that everything has an effect on your vibration, and what you choose to eat, what you choose to watch, what you choose to listen to, who you hang out with, like it all has an effect. And those are all choices that we make, and sometimes it's hard to make that choice. Sometimes you do want to eat french fries, and instead you're going to have some fruits and vegetables because those are high vibrational foods. So yes, I think it is honestly a full-time job to be happy and to be in the good vibration.
Sanela, yes. Oh my gosh, that was so well articulated. 100%. Every day you are choosing what you're consuming, right? Whether it's media, music, a rap song, and food. And it is a daily active conscious thought of, am I going to do something that's in my best interest, or am I going to consume what's around me? And we have kind of a sick environment because think about everything, every commercial, every movie that you watch, every song is about consuming something, or getting money, getting women. It's insane. It's kind of crazy. And so when you really understand that, and then you consciously go to consume, you realize, first of all, there's only a few choices you can make that are good for you, really. And you see how much clutter there is out there in everything that we consume. To your point, that's a great example of watching Euphoria and feeling that depression and anxiety that show brings. The same thing happens to me at the gym. I go to the gym at 7 and I'm ready to start my day and do something positive for my body. And yet they have a TV on that's talking about the news, and their girl comes on and talks about a murder suicide that happened 80 miles away last night. And it's like, great, I just woke up at 7 a.m. I'm here to try and start my day with intention. And the first thing I hear without even trying to hear is about a murder suicide. So what do you think that does to people that start their day at 7 a.m.? Now they're anxious. Oh, could there be someone here that's looking to do that? Now they're on edge. Now they're in fear. And so we have to be conscious of all these things, right? And the way that you brought that up is so perfect. It is totally a full-time job. And as you become more conscious of it, you realize that that's exactly what it is. Well
Wow.
said. Okay, so let's move on. I want to talk to the people about Dolores Cannon. I know that you've mentioned her a couple times. I think that her work was amazing. For those of you that don't know, she's written a lot of books, and she was a hypnotherapist, life regressionist. But you recently did a life regressionist, is this right?
Yes, in
About,
August.
would you be willing to share about that experience, where it took place, how long it was, everything that you remember?
Absolutely. Okay, so my hypnotherapist was Mallory Shannon, who is also on TikTok. If anybody wants to go to her, she's amazing. I would highly recommend her. So she regressed me through 3 of my past lives. And so we did the staircase method. I actually tried to do a past life regression meditation on my own a few months prior. And the meditation that I was doing, they were doing the womb method, where you basically go back through the birth canal, and then you're like in your mother's womb, and you're eventually your mother. So I was doing that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm upside down. Everything's warm. Like I was in my mom's belly. Like, I'm like, I'm upside down. This is working. And then it's like, okay, like now be your mother. And I'm laying there, and I just have this overwhelming urge to vomit. I was like trying to, get through it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. If I keep laying here and going through this, I'm going to vomit. And, the next day I called my mom, and I was like, hey, when you were pregnant with me, were you really nauseous? And she was like, yes, why? Are you pregnant? I'm like, no, it's not like that. But I just thought that that was so wild and so real, because she had not mentioned to me before then that, you know, she had like very bad sickness, morning sickness, which can happen at any time of the day when she was pregnant with me. But I let her know that before we did the regression, because I wanted to actually get through it and not throw up. So she did the staircase method with me. So you kind of just imagine this door leading down to a staircase, and then she kind of counts down the steps from 10 to 1, and then you show up in your past life at whatever point that your subconscious thinks is important for you to heal from in that moment. So when I initially reached out to her, I was in Hawaii visiting my sister, and I live in Chicago now, but I am so in love with the ocean and with kind of that tropical environment. And I do eventually want to move somewhere coastal. So I was in Hawaii with my sister, and I just kept obviously being in the ocean, and I just kept having this like overwhelming fear that something was going to come out and get me. And I, you know, was always having these dreams of drowning, and it was debilitating, you know, like I wanted to fully enjoy what I was doing, because it was honestly the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen in my life, most beautiful place. And I couldn't fully be present just because I felt like I was going to get eaten by a shark or drown or something. And I'm a great swimmer. I used to be a swim instructor, and I don't have this fear when I'm in the pool, but when I'm in a body of water, it just kind of takes over me, and I just can't enjoy it fully. So I reached out to her, and I was like, this is really affecting me, and I just want to be able to let this go. I want to know where this is coming from. Like, I haven't almost drowned in my life. There's no reason for me to feel this way. I'm a strong swimmer. You know, I've been around water my whole life. Like, what is going on? So that was like my first intent with this regression. And I get into my first life that she regressed me to, and it's dark, it's cold. I'm like, ooh, this is weird. And then she's like, okay, do you see anything? And then I start seeing like seaweed kind of rocking back and forth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm underwater. And she's like, okay, great. Like, what else is going on? I'm like, I'm upside down. And I could like feel all of the blood like rushing to my face, and that it was just getting so hot. And I was attached to something by my arm, and I didn't process it until a little bit after, but I was like, there's a chain, like I'm stuck to something. And I just like had this knowing and just such a strong feeling of betrayal that like someone that I knew did this to me. And I look up, and there's a boat above, and I could just see the bottom of the boat. It felt like that Finding Nemo, like I touched the butt, like that was like kind of my view of what I was seeing. And I just knew that it was my husband that put me here. And
Wow.
I want to say this was like in the 70s. I was chained to an anchor, and I died all over again. And it was really scary. It became hard to breathe. My whole face was hot. I was like sobbing, and it was crazy. And she was like, it's over. You don't have to relive this again. But just like that knowing of like where it was coming from, and in a way that I was not expecting at all. I really thought it was going to be like, oh, I got eaten by a shark, that's why I'm scared, you know, but it was just like a total like turn of events that I really wasn't expecting. But so many other things came out of that too, like the way that I have issues trusting people, especially men, kind of stemmed from that. And she was mentioning my tattoo that I have on the arm that was stuck on the chain. So that was the first traumatizing one. And then I'm going to keep the next one short just because I really want to tell you about the third one. So I was like way back in the day in Greece. I want to say that this was like BC times. And there was like these kind of soldiers. And I know it was then because I did some research after it, and just like based off of the uniform, I could see just to get the year kind of. but I was a 12-year-old boy, and I was with my mom, got caught for stealing bread, and I got my hands chopped off by these soldiers.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so traumatizing. Like my poor soul like has been through so much. And then it just like immediately starts jumping to this other life. And I'm like, whoa, like I see this giant bird and the sky is pink. I'm like, whoa, like what's happening here? And then she's like, okay, like where are you? I'm like, the sky is pink here. The sky's pink. Like I see this bird, the sky's pink. Like I'm not on Earth. And I was like, oh my God, like all of the starseed roots, like all of everything that I've ever been researching and feeling like wholeheartedly, I'm like, I get to relive this right now. And I was on Arcturus, and that is the starseed origin that I've always originated with. It's these little blue people they are in our galaxy, and I had just never felt so at home. I knew that this was my first incarnation, or I'm sorry, this was my last incarnation before I came to Earth. And I had this like knowing that I was coming to Earth. And for those who don't know about the Arcturians, they are one of the most advanced species in our galaxy that we know of. And we communicated solely through energy. Like we could talk, we could see, but we felt through emotions, and just it was just so clear. Like we didn't need words to communicate. And I was talking to my children there, and it was just all through feeling. And I think that that's also where my intuitive abilities come from. And I think that that's why I stress so much to people to like really tune into their feelings and to use that as their first form of communication with their self and their surroundings. And that's really where it came from. And it was just, I wish I could go back. It was so amazing and beautiful.
That sounds amazing. I'm jealous. I'm going to have to talk to Mallory.
Yes, I will send you her
I'm
info.
going to have to talk to her because it's something that I'm very interested in. So for those of you watching right now that have no idea what Arcturus is, or kind of what we're talking about, I'm going to give it to you just in a couple sentences, and then you have to do your own research, right? That's part of being a citizen scientist, is doing your own research. Dolores Cannon is a hypnotherapist who did so many life regressionists with thousands of patients one-on-one and recorded their sessions, that after doing it so many times, these people under trance would be saying the same thing, that they were experiencing a life after death and then a plane in between their lives. And what she comes to illuminate over decades of doing this is that we all are a soul. There's a soul plane that we exist, and we can learn lessons there too. But you come to different planets like Arcturus or Earth over the average of like 100 reincarnations to learn different lessons. And you actually choose the life. You choose the lessons you want to go through. And then when you come to that physical life, you forget everything. It's a blank slate. You have no memory of it. And then you're living that life that you chose because you wanted to learn the lessons that you wanted to live. Sounds very mind-blowing if you've never heard of it. I encourage you to do your own research. The best way I can show that this happens is we have near-death experiences. There's tons of great channels that talk about near-death experiences where someone says, I died, I floated above my body, I saw and heard everything, I went to this this heaven soul plane area and then came back. And it's all the same stories that all these people are saying. And the second is child reincarnations stories. There's Netflix does a good one. There's a couple books written out. There's like 5,000 cases documented where children between the age of 0 and 7 have a complete memory of a previous life. And their parents are mind blown because they're talking about a different life. And they bring this guy who's now written a book about it. And he brings 5 pictures of like the family house, the family dog. And these 5-year-olds choose the right image every single time. So if that doesn't prove to you that there's some form of reincarnation, that there is some sort of soul plane going on, I challenge you to do some research on it, because I think your paradigm will shift drastically. But that's amazing. I'm definitely going to try and do that because I'm ready for it.
Yes, that's an important thing too. I just want to mention to anybody who's listening is that don't feel like it's something that you have to do. And definitely do it when you feel called and ready to do it.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of books and stuff, and I'll post that. Actually, I'm going to post all the books and references I'm talking about so that you guys can dive into it, because it's amazing. All right, we're going to transition. Sanela, you have been talking about morning routines, waking up early. That's something that I'm fascinated with and that I'm doing as well. But tell me about why you started doing morning routines, why you feel so passionate to post about it, and what side effects you've gotten, good or negative, from morning routines.
Okay, so first I do want to say that there is positive and negative to waking up super, super early. But when I wake up at 5:30, it's still dark outside. I take my dog out first thing in the morning, and I just kind of stand there, and it's so dark, but you hear the birds chirping, and it's just like such a peaceful moment to know that mostly everyone is still asleep. And it kind of just being outside first thing in the morning, it just feels like you're alone with the spirit of earth, as corny as that sounds. But it's just so peaceful in that moment. And I was watching this guy, he's a monk, and he was saying that between 3 and 5 a.m. is our kind of best time to manifest. And I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. I don't even want to wake up at 5 a.m. 5:30 is good for me.
Yeah.
But I do journal first thing in the morning when I come in. And it's, it feels like it has a different effect. The fact that it's so early, the sun hasn't even risen yet, and that is like the first thing that you're putting your awareness on in the morning. I do think that has a little bit of a more, oh my gosh, I'm like totally blanking on the word. It just kind of attracts your manifestation in a little bit further when you do it early in the morning, rather than, in the middle of the day when you've already been thinking about like a million different things. I also really, really like to start my day by working out. I just want to get it out of the way, and it feels really good to have started your day that way, and just to get that blood moving, and you just feel so awake. I will say that a downside to waking up that early is by the time it hits like 12 or 1 o'clock, you kind of feel like it was a different day that morning. Like, and that it's the next day, and you're like, wait, I need to go to the gym. Like, no, you don't, you already did it this morning. So it does become like a little bit of like a I don't want to,
one kind of.
yes. So that is a downside, I would say. And then another thing is when you've been doing it for a while, and then you wake up at maybe 7 or 8 or 9 even, because you didn't sleep well, you kind of beat yourself up for it. You're like, man, I lost like 4 hours out of my day. Because when you think about like waking up at 8 versus waking up at 5, you have an extra 3 hours to do what you need to do, and I have a very long morning routine before I get to work. So I need those 3 hours. But yeah, it has been really, really life-changing to just be like intentional and just kind of, force yourself up and to get your day started, rather than just kind of lounging around. And it's all about being intentional with the time that you have to spend on this earth, because we all get a limited amount of time. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you can never buy more of it. So just having those few extra hours to just be intentional, be present, and just be with yourself and do the things that are good for you, even if the rest of your day is complete garbage, you just still know that you had, those few hours to be intentional with the time that you have.
Beautifully said. I completely agree with what you're saying. It's a way to, just like you said, be intentional, because I feel like so many people immediately wake up and react to their day, right? Oh, this email and my dog and my kids, and got to go here, and they're not creating the day that they want. And even if you do that time and you create your day and things go sideways, you still feel accomplished, because
Right.
you focused on your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health by going to the gym. And so no matter what happens the rest of the day, no matter how bad it may be, you've already won the day because you've done the three most important things and you were selfish for yourself. And I
Exactly.
think that if you read tons of biographies and autobiographies of successful people or watch interviews of successful people, you will find a common theme as they all of them have a morning routine that they can recite from memory that is important to them and the steps that matter to them. It is about being intentional with your day. And I completely agree. I have a dog that I take out in the morning and it helps me wake up because I'm outside. My dog's always happy, so that makes me happy. So if you don't have a dog to take out, maybe that's a good way to start your morning routine.
Honestly.
Go rescue a dog.
Yes.
You don't have one. Okay, I completely agree. Everyone needs to get a morning routine. Okay. Let's jump into TikTok. Are you ready to jump into some TikTok stuff?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. So part of this show is helping people that haven't shared stories on TikTok. I know it's a lot of nerves. It's very nerve-wracking to put yourself out there, but TikTok is this unique platform where authenticity is winning right now. People want to know your real life, your real feelings. What is your life like? No matter how mundane you might think it is, it could be extremely fascinating for people. And so what I would like to ask you, Sanela, is when did you first start? Why did you start? And do you remember your first video?
Yes. So everyone, when everything first locked down, I saw everyone was getting on TikTok and making these dancing videos. And I was like, I am not doing that. Like, I'm not getting on TikTok and dancing. Like, I am not doing that. No, 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 no. I was like, cringe TikTok, like that was like my mindset about it. But then I downloaded the app with no intention of making videos, just to watch them. And I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of really funny videos on here. And then, as the algorithm got to know me, and I started getting all these videos about spirituality and manifestation. And I was like, huh? I'm like, wait, other people are into this stuff too? Because I spent so long with, just like my immediate circle and just people around me, like thinking like, okay, that girl is insane. She's nuts, so I was just kept it to myself after a while, and that can be very, very isolating when you're on your spiritual journey, is that you don't want to have those surface level conversations anymore. So I was like, I know so much about this, like I can make a video. And my first video, it was I want to say November of 2020. I made a video about exactly what we were talking about earlier, about how music affects us vibrationally, and that words are spells, and that we need to be conscious of what kind of music that we're listening to, and that we shouldn't be listening to songs that say, I know we're fucked up, I'm just a loser. Like,
Yeah.
that was the example that I used in the song. And I'm sorry if you don't swear on this and just bleep it out or something. But yeah, that was my first video. And, I didn't have any makeup on. I was looking greasy and in my sweatpants, and that was my first viral video. I think I wouldn't say like super viral, but I think it got like 40 or 50,000 likes. And I was like, wait, that was like so easy. Like, I literally just spoke what was on my mind. I didn't have to put makeup on and try to be pretty and, do all of this whole show. It was just, people resonated with what I had to say. And, that kind of got me fired up. And I was like, okay, I have so much more like that I could say. And it really just like, it just took off. I was just sharing literally from like my bed, like random, I can make a video about this, like literally just like in my pajamas, no makeup on. And I would just say this, and, it resonated deeply with people, and it just picked up, and it made me feel really good for once that people cared about what I had to say, and kind of felt the same way when for years I was being isolated and kind of felt like I wasn't able to share this part of who I am, which is a huge part of who I am. And it just felt really good to like kind of find this community and discover how authentic the app was. It's like the total opposite of Instagram, where like, it's all about aesthetics and, just like looking pretty and like having a nice feed and like making sure each post looks good in your feed. Like, no, it's nothing like that. Like, people truly care about the content, and that's it. Just like the pure realness of it.
I completely agree. And thank you, Sanela, for being so authentic, by the way, because obviously this is why you have such a huge following, because you are as real as it gets. And I just want to say thank you for that, because I
Thank
resonate
you.
with that. And that's my goal. Imagine a world where everybody is wearing their heart on their sleeve and is being so authentic because they've done the work themselves. They're not focused on what anybody else is doing. They went into themselves. They, focused on what's makes them happy, what traumas they've had. And I just, what world would that be if everybody operated with the type of mindset that you're talking about? I think it would be a much more beautiful, loving, kind, peaceful world to be in. So thank you for that. But you're absolutely right. That was my first thought as well. Pandemic hit. It was a place to escape, lots of funny dances. You're like, I'm not dancing. And then
No way.
as you start watching and commenting, you're like, wait, there's some videos about stuff that I'm interested in. Oh, wait, now there's stuff about quantum physics. Oh, there's stuff about this from an expert in this field. And you're like, whoa, I'm actually learning on TikTok. And I graduated from a prestigious university at the age of 21. It's a private university. And I've learned more from TikTok than I have from 4 years at university. So it's a powerful place. So you weren't scared to post that first, but you just kind of just did it, and that was the result?
I was, of course, a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I'm still to this day nervous when I post on Instagram, because it's like people that I know, it's people like in my immediate circle, or like people that I'm not friends with these people. I'm not friends with, I could count all my friends on one hand, but just like people that I'm acquainted with, that I've met, that like know me through like mutual friends or from work or stuff, like it makes me terrified to like post something on Instagram, because each one of those people already has like an idea of what I am in their head. And if I go beyond that, they're going to be like, oh, she's cringe, or like, oh, I didn't know she was like that, or like, what is this girl talking about? But on TikTok, that fear kind of dissolves when you realize you're making this video for a bunch of strangers. Like, this is the first time that they're seeing you. They know nothing about you. They could scroll past it and never see you again, So I feel like that fear and that nervousness, it kind of dissolves, and it's a different world out there. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I think once, people kind of get a little bit familiar with the app and like what TikTok is like, I think that they'll feel a little bit more comfortable making that first video. And, like, what do you have to lose really just by posting it? Like, you could always delete it, or, it might not get any views. It might get a lot of views, and your life could change. Because I do want to put an emphasis on that, is that I went in with no expectations, but I just felt I had a message to share. And when I felt I had that message to share, I shared it. And as corny as this might sound, or crazy, TikTok actually completely changed the trajectory of my life. It helped me, even though I was already on my spiritual journey, it helped me go even further on my spiritual journey, because I knew that people were counting on me to give them that information. So it made me spend so much of my time with intention on something that was so good and helpful, and just a big part of my life, and just putting so much focus on that, it just really changed everything. And, I never thought that it would come to this point, but it's gotten me so many opportunities. I got to quit my job last year. I completely changed my career path because of TikTok. And, like, I just want people to know that story it just starts with one video, and that's all that you have to start with. You just have to kind of get over that hurdle, and everything can change for the better. And you will never know if you don't try. So just don't contemplate, well, what if I never posted it? Like, just do it. You never know what could happen.
Spoken like a true TikTok all-star. I completely agree. You have no idea. You took the words out of my mouth. I had no intentions. I felt like I wanted to share a message. And then you find so many people that resonate with your message. Like, okay, like there's a lot of other people that are kind of waking up to this new ideology of what our generation wants to see out of this life, And it's really awesome to build a community of like-minded people that you never would have ever ran into at the grocery store. You would never have talked to them. You would have never have had an interaction with them. And all of a sudden you find thousands and thousands of people that see eye to eye with you and agree with you. And now you can start building momentum through your voice to kind of create the world that you want to live in. So I just think it's so powerful. Okay, Sanela, do you have a routine that you kind of follow, or is it just kind of random?
So I did in the beginning when I was trying to kind of grow my following, and I would just, post 3 to 4 videos a day and just see like kind of what people resonated with and what did well. And I would just kind of pick from that and kind of do like theme videos, I guess, like just like on one topic, but like a general topic, but then like get into the nitty-gritties of like making all these different videos, like kind of a series, I guess. Yeah. So I did start doing that, and in the beginning I had a routine, but if I went a day without posting, whatever, no big deal, because it's not like Instagram where like, you're going to annoy people if you post 5 times a day. Yeah. No, they're not going to see it. It's just going through the feed, so you can post really 100 videos in a day and it'll be fine. But when I was new to TikTok, I just had like so much information that I had learned over the years that I was so eager to share that like, it was really easy for me to make like those 3 to 4 videos a day. I slowed down after a little bit, like maybe 1 video a day. Maybe I would go like a few days without posting and then be like, like all of this stuff, but I think it's important to have a schedule in the beginning, not necessarily like a time schedule, just like a little bit of time that you set aside to like make some content each day, because it's so fast too. Like when I think about sitting down to film a YouTube video, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to take so long. I have to set all of my equipment up. Like I have to edit the video. It's going to take 3 days. But when you make a TikTok, it's like, say what you need to say, write the caption, hashtag, whatever, boom, 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 done. It's out there. It literally, you can spend like 15 minutes and you can make 5 videos, So in the beginning, it is important to have that schedule, but like once you kind of establish yourself a little bit, I guess, you can kind of go a little bit longer without doing so.
I agree with you. And you brought up a good point. You could post 100 videos in one day, and even someone who follows you might only see 2 of them.
Exactly.
So it really does go out to the person that wants to hear the message based on their, online portfolio that they've kind of made. So that is very true. Okay, one last question. So I know that at some point with a lot of followers, you took a pretty big long break. And I did that too. Once I was around like 130, for some reason, I just was like, you know what? I need to take a break. And I didn't post or really interact with the app for like 3 months. So I wanted to ask you about that. Why did you think you did that? And what did you learn about yourself by doing that?
So I've actually taken a break twice. I did one in the beginning of 2021, but it was much shorter. It was like 3 weeks. And the first time I did it, I was shadow banned. So I was like, you know what, this is maybe a sign from the universe that I need to just like take a step back, redirect my attention somewhere else, and I can come back when I'm ready. I have new information to share. But this last time I don't even know how long it was, maybe 2 or 3 months I didn't post. It started to really affect me in the sense that, if you don't have a large following, it's really easy to tell someone else, don't care about what other people think, don't care about what other people say. But circling back to the beginning of our conversation about energy and frequency and vibration, words are spells. Reading these things does have an effect on your psyche, on your subconscious, on your overall being of how you feel. And psychic attacks are a real thing. And at the end of the day, you know, we can say whatever we want, but words do have an effect on people. And that is, I'm not gonna lie, that is one of the downsides to TikTok, is that it really is strangers. And these people are not afraid to just rip you to shreds and scroll away. Like they will never think about it again. So, you know, that was really affecting me. And I think it's something that a lot of creators go through that they don't talk about, is just how it affects your mental health. And that was one of the reasons that I did actually publicly talk about it to my followers. I was like, listen, I can't make content for you right now because I don't feel good. Like this doesn't feel like the same place as when I started, and it doesn't feel like it's coming from an authentic, genuine place where it's going to resonate with anyone, because I'm not feeling good. I can't, I didn't want to lie. And I feel like that even more shows like what TikTok really is that it's fully authentic. Like you cannot post if it's not authentic. And, you know, I'm sure some people get by faking it, but, you know, it just doesn't come from a real place. And then I don't think it really goes anywhere. But I am ready to make a comeback. I have been posting more regularly, and you know, maybe my content isn't resonating the same way that it used to, and that's okay. And for anybody else who might be experiencing the same thing, it's okay to kind of shift gears. And I've actually done that before. Like I used to focus all my content around like extraterrestrials and space and conspiracies. And then at one point I had this feeling of like, you know, I love these things. I'm very passionate about them. I will always love them, but it's time to shift gears because I don't think that this is like urgent or important right now. And I kind of shifted towards more like self-help and health, and just, you know, kind of being aware and how to raise your vibration. And that was also when I started posting out the dreams too more often. So there is, you know, that downside that strangers on the internet can be mean. They can be really, really, really mean and just absolutely rip you to shreds and never think about you again. But at some point, you know, I feel like you either learn to ignore it or it doesn't affect you, or, you know, you just stop attracting those kinds of people onto your videos. But regardless of what happens, just know that if you get to the point where it is affecting your mental health, like it is okay to walk away and just learn how to be who you are again without social media. Like I think that that's like a huge thing too, is like when you have a platform, it starts to take over so much of your life, just because like in one sense it's kind of your career. So just like kind of stepping back and like seeing what your life is like without that, you kind of have to ask yourself these existential questions. Like, if I didn't have this, if I didn't have this, if I didn't have this as my hobby, like, who am I at the core? And I was really, really struggling with those questions. And that was like why I was like, I need to stay away a little bit longer, because I cannot help people if I don't even know what the hell is going on in my own life.
That's amazing. And thank you for being so open and honest, because I can say I felt the exact same way. The one thing I will say is no matter what you post, there is always going to be someone who disagrees with it, and not only disagrees with it, but hates it to their core. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's always gonna happen. You could literally make a 3-second video saying love everybody, and people will think, you know, you're a socialist, communist, you know. So it doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone that disagrees. So that has to be said.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes it just takes it's toll on you when that happens so often, where it's a nameless, faceless account that just kind of destroys you. And you're just like, I'm on here to try and genuinely help and with good intent. And it seems like I ruined someone's day. And so you kind of take a step back and you're going, you know, what is my purpose? What message do I want to share? And that's why if you're not following Sanela, go follow her, because she's authentic as it gets and as real as it gets, and she's not going to post stuff just to post. And that's something that I feel as well. There'll be multiple weeks where I'm just like, I don't feel that energy, that vibration inside me that feels like I want to share it. And if I don't feel, I'm not just going to create something to create something just to say, oh, I got a post, so I got views or whatever. I have to truly be in that emotional state where it's like, yes, people need to understand this, and it needs to come from my perspective of it. So you're so right, and glad to have you back.
Thank you.
And where can people follow you? Where should people go to follow you?
I am Sanela.Estrella on all platforms. I am on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and I think those are the only social medias I use. I don't want to add any more to the list.
Yeah. Perfect. I will put all of that.
Me.
I will put all of that in the link to description. Go follow her. She's amazing. And then the last thing I want to ask you is what is you took this long break. We just had a long conversation. What do you think your goal is? What is your end goal? Just in your life in general. What is it that you think your calling here is for and that you want to accomplish? And it could be something as simple. And it could be something as simple as I just want to hang out and be happy and you know, it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Right. I think that this is such a loaded question, and I hope I make someone feel better by saying that I don't fully know the answer to that question. And, you know, even though I've done so much work, I still question every day, like, why am I here? Like, what purpose do I serve on this planet at this time right now? But if I had to come up with an answer, I really just want to make a positive impact and a difference in people's lives, whether that's, you know, one person or many. I want people to remember me, that I was kind and genuine and generous and loving, and that's really it. That's all that matters to me.
That's awesome. And that's spoken like someone who's doing the self-work, because that is how I feel. I feel like at tomorrow, my entire kind of paradigm of what I'm thinking could change, because as you do that self-work, it changes so frequently. So it's really, what can I offer now in this state of mind with the information and experiences I have? And in a year that could be completely different. So
absolutely
beautifully said, Sanela. You're a true all-star. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on. I learned so much. I know so many others learned so much. And I look forward to seeing some more videos that you post.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here. And thanks to everybody listening as well. If you made it this far.
And as always, everybody, do your own research.